April 19, 2023. And what time is it?
7:11.
Okay, we'll be getting at 7:11. Can we get a roll call?
Manufo Leah Inga Anuai is not present. Aaron Rashba,
Here.
Anthony Sujisaka,
Present.
Andrea Jordan is not present. Shaquille Ali.
Here. All right, thank you. And Mr. Vidales, can you please, oh no, we actually have some students from Westlake Elementary School here, and we will ask you to help lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, JESD Board of Trustees, staff, and members of the audience.
Please stand and remove any hats.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. And now we have a special presentation, Westlake Elementary School Student Morning Messages. Miss Liz O'Neill, principal, and fifth grade students of Westlake Elementary School will present on WISE morning messages that they lead each morning.
Good evening. I am Liz O'Neill, the very proud principal of Westlake Elementary. Students have always led the Pledge of Allegiance for our school community, which is more than 350 students. This year, fifth grade students have also taken on inspirational morning messages, which we call words of wisdom. Daniela, Isaiah, Leo, and Lily are four of our fifth graders that have led the school in morning messages. Okay, I'm trying to do the clicker. Okay, there we go. I have a few photos of how this looks at Westlake, and the students will tell you what morning messages had meant to them and share their favorite messages with you. The clicker's not working, sorry. Oh, there we go. So believe it or not, that's 350 kids and probably about 40 adults. Go ahead, Daniela.
Hello, my name is Daniela Tostada. I'm a fifth grader at Westlake Elementary. It is so nice to be here tonight. Morning messages are important to me because it gives us a chance to practice leadership skills and speaking in front of an audience. It also brings our school together to share small pieces of history and words of wisdom. Morning messages is the exercise our brains need to start off our day. How many of you have heard the story about the plane tree? It goes like this. One hot day, two children stopped to rest beneath a big shady tree. It was a plane tree. The little boy said, "What a useless tree. It has no fruit." The little girl said, "Yeah, and it litters the ground with its old leaves." Suddenly, a voice within the tree replied, "You ungrateful creatures, you lie here enjoying my cool shade and complain that I am useless? So what is the moral of the story?" Sometimes we're so busy complaining about what's wrong that we forget to be grateful for what's good and right. Today, write down 5 things for which you are thankful. With something to think about, this is Daniela. Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.
Hello, my name is Isaiah Leo Merluza and I'm in 5th grade. I really enjoy doing the morning messages because it helped build up confidence. For instance, I was anxious to speak to my entire school, but after I kept doing it, speaking to a large audience became a normal thing to me. Another reason I enjoyed it was I love spreading wisdom to others so they could turn out to be good adults. Last, I started to become a better person when I started doing the morning messages. Good evening. This is Isaiah with a few words of wisdom. Some people say that wisdom comes with age, and that's true. As we grow older, we learn from our life and gain wisdom. Someone once wrote that there is wisdom in a kindergarten classroom. In kindergarten, we learn to share everything, play fair, don't hit people, put things back where you found them, say you're sorry when you hurt someone, follow the golden rule. Whether we are in kindergarten or college, those are some pretty wise rules to follow, don't you think? And remember, the golden rule says that we should treat people the way that we would want them to treat us. With something to think about, this is Isaiah. Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.
Hello, my name is Leonardo Serrano and I'm in 5th grade. After doing the morning messages, I think it was a good experience that I really enjoyed doing. I think it was a perfect way of spreading kindness in our school and making our school a better place. I think it worked out amazingly. I think it was very positive in every way. When I was reading the morning messages, I felt braver every day. It made me more confident reading out loud in my class, and I felt more confident in my reading. At first, I was very nervous, but when I started reading the messages out loud to the school, I was no longer nervous but happy. I also love spreading the morning messages to the school. Overall, I think it was an amazing experience that I really enjoyed and that made me braver. Good evening. This is Leo with a few words of wisdom. Do you think you're tough? Then listen up. Today's words of wisdom are especially for you. Tenderness and kindness are not signs of weakness, but signs of strength. These are the words of Khalil Gibran, the great Lebanese writer and painter. When we have good self-esteem and strong character, it's easy to be kind to others because we've learned to be kind to ourselves. Do you remember the following words from Aesop's fables? No act of kindness is ever wasted. Today, show some real strength. Be kind to others and allow others to be kind to you. You might be surprised at just how strong we really are. With something to think about, this is Leo. Make it a great day or not. The choice is yours.
My name is Lily, and I am in 5th grade. I enjoy reading morning messages and listening to it too. That is because each day there is an important theme, such as kindness, courage, or perseverance. These themes teach the students about important lessons in life so that they can grow up to be good and kind people. When I first started reading the morning messages, I was excited and proud to share those wise words with the school. I felt that it is effective, and I hope you feel the same way. I will read you one of my morning messages about kindness and compassion. I picked this one because we can all use a little more kindness in the world. Good evening. This is Lily with a few words of wisdom. Albert Einstein once said, "Our task must be to widen our circle of compassion, to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty." In other words, he is saying that one of our jobs in life is to be kind and caring to each other, to all living creatures, and to planet Earth. As you move through the day to day, notice that although we human creatures come in different colors, shapes, and sizes, we share a common bond with each other. We live on the same Earth and under the same stars. We all want to be treated with kindness. Today, focus on what we have in common while celebrating the differences that make our country great. With something to think about, this is Lily. Make it a great day or not. The choice is yours.
Thank you all for your listening. That concludes our presentation.
Thank you so much. Those were great presentations, by the way. And obviously, you doing the morning messages helped you do your presentation here today. So that was really amazing. Are there any comments or commendations, not questions, from fellow board members? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so well, first of all, thank you all for speaking. We always love hearing from our students. I feel like I just got 4 days of wisdom in 1 day, so I feel like we're cheating. So yeah, thank you for presenting to us and sharing that with us. I also wanted to show off that you all have these bracelets. They're from SBA. They're about the Kindness Club. That's also something that I always wear this since we got it, so you should start a Kindness Club.
Well, what a wonderful way to start our meeting. And I was just imagining how it must feel to be at school and hear these words in the morning, also to say them. So I'm big on mindset. So I can see how just this activity in the morning can create the mindset for the whole campus, creating positivity for the rest of the day. And the fact that you do it every day is commendable. So thank you for your kind words tonight, and I'm very inspired.
Yes, thank you for speaking. You spoke very well. I truly gained a lot of wisdom and inspiration listening to you. Congratulations to Principal O'Neill and the school for having a terrific program. And I just think of what important skills that this is building. You named some of them: confidence, courage, perseverance, compassion. Those are all extremely important things in your school life and, throughout life. And I was thinking that, wisdom, like Isaiah said, doesn't just go from old to young. It's really all around us. And so I think you showed that tonight. So thank you for the presentation and speaking tonight.
I echo my fellow trustees. Like I mentioned earlier, you all spoke so eloquently. We all could hear you. You were timing what you were saying so correctly. You were confident in what you were saying. It seems like you did your homework in advance, which is always helpful. You want to do your research before you speak on something. Kindness can go a long way. The other day I paid for someone's meal behind me in the drive-thru, and I was driving away and they said, "Thank you so much. We were only going to buy, one thing." And then we realized that someone out there thought about us, and we ended up getting something extra. And so you never know what little thing you can do, say, even a smile to someone could just go such a long way. So keep up the good work. And I look forward to hearing more from the Westlake community in the very near future. All right. So we have some presentations for you all, and I'm going to have my fellow trustees help me out here. Let's see. Here. So when you hear your name, please step up. We'll shake your hand and give you your certificate. And I'll start on my right.
All right. Certificate of Appreciation awarded to Leonardo Serrano Solares.
All right, Certificate of Appreciation for participation in the flag ceremony and special presentation, Lily Begonia.
All right, I have a certificate of appreciation for participation in the flag ceremony and special presentation for Daniela Tostada.
And last but not least, I have a certificate of appreciation for participation in the flag ceremony and special presentation for Isaiah Leo Merluza. Thank you again to the Westlake community. We really appreciate you being here today. We're going to move on to communications. First on that part of the agenda is board member acknowledgements and commendations, and I'm going to start on my left-hand side.
All right, well, we wanted to thank a couple of the school communities. President Jordan and I actually got to visit a couple school communities, and so we'll talk a little about that later, but we wanted to thank, it was TR Policita and MHT. That's it? All right.
Okay.
Okay. I recently got to attend two awesome events of the JESD. One I won't say too much about because I know we have a presentation later tonight, and that's the spelling bee. But I'll just say I greatly enjoyed attending that. Congratulations to all the students who represented their schools so well. And the other event that I attended just last night was the art fair. And this was an amazing event held in the TRP gym, and it just struck me that we have so much talent in our district. It was just incredible to be surrounded with all of the artistic expression. There was artwork displayed around the gym, and I was just not prepared for all the incredible performances we had. We had multiple bands from multiple schools. The TRP dance team was a real highlight. There were individual performers, jazz, gymnastics, tap, singing. It was truly amazing. Great to have a full house there. So thank you to the teachers, administrators, and parents who attended, and especially thanks to all the extremely talented student artists in our district.
So, Trustee Rashba, do you think we have the next Picasso in our district?
Definitely.
I like to hear it. I echo my fellow board trustee sentiments, and in the efforts to keep our comments and remarks concise, we're going to move on to superintendent comments.
Yeah, so the end of the year is upon us, and so is a season of special events, and so we'll have many opportunities to see different things across the district. So the art show, the spelling bee, student of the year ceremonies, all of these things are handled by administrators with full-time jobs who do this as an adjunct duty. So I do want to thank Ms. Christina Sanchez, who helped organize the art show yesterday, and she had a couple of apprentices that were working alongside her. I want to thank them as well. And then, of course, you'll hear from our spelling bee, and the facilitators for the spelling bee will be with us later. So thank them for their efforts in coordinating that. I do want to let the board know that our next meeting in May will be at TRP, so don't come here. I'll remind you multiple times. We'll be at TR Policy Day because we did want the full board to be able to see the work of the TRP dance team, and so they're going to perform a couple numbers for us at that meeting. And also I wish to invite you to their annual dance concert. The first one will be on Wednesday the 24th, which we have a board meeting, but the second one will be on the 25th, Thursday the 25th. So put that on your calendar. It's always a great event. I will find out when the one is during the day in case you can make a day performance. And then the last thing is I do want to solicit your support and your help in getting the word out about San Mateo County's Community Transportation Benefit Program. It's been rolled out just this week. Any San Mateo County resident 18 years age or older making less than $78,000 can qualify for $100 fast track one time, so you can use those new special lanes on 101, or qualify for $100 on Clipper, but that's an annual benefit, so they'll keep reloading your Clipper card. So I'm going to give you a flyer for you to have. Please share it with your community and your social media. We'll be sending these home and out to our community members. But the more the word gets out, sometimes it takes hearing a message 3 or 4 times before you hear it. So it seems like who would say no to $100 bill on the sidewalk? So, and that's what this is. So that's it. Thank you.
Question on the $100 annual benefit. Is it for 1 year only?
Oh, no, it's once a year. So the Clipper card will be loaded. If you have an existing one, you provide your account number, or you get an actual Clipper card. And then every year after, I don't know for how long, you'll get $100.
Okay, so we don't have a timeline, but technically more than probably
more than 1 year. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to move on to item 7A, A, the consent agenda. The administration recommends approval of the start items on the rest of the agenda. Are there any comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I motion to approve.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Moving on to, I'm excited about this part of the agenda. 7C, our spelling bee. The district spelling bee co-facilitators, Fiona Hansen, vice principal of Ben Franklin, and Karen Hong, principal of MHT Tobias, will introduce the 2023 spelling bee grade level winners and the district champion.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Karen Hong, principal at Marjorie H. Tobias Elementary School, and this is Fiona Hansen, vice principal at Ben Franklin Intermediate School. And we are here tonight to introduce to you the 2023 Spelling Bee grade level winners and the district Spelling Bee champions. So before we introduce to you our winners, let's see if this works. There we go. We want to thank our wonderful Board of Trustees, our district and site administrators, our teachers, our students, and our families for supporting the Spelling Bee. We want to recognize all of the JESD students for participating at your respective school sites and for all of your hard work this year.
So we had a full house that evening. It was the first time we've had a spelling bee since 2019. It was exciting to see all the families come out to support their children and their classmates. We had about 100, I would say, and 30 guests that evening. And they started in the multi-use room, and then we headed out to classrooms for grade level championships. We had 4th, 5th, and 6th, and 7th, and 8th graders in individual classrooms. It was in some rooms standing room only because so many parents did come out. We had the 4th grade group went so long that we had to check in on them because the final word was so challenging that they kept going. But we do have our champions. We have Angelo here tonight, Juliana, the 5th grade winner, the 6th grade grand champion and 6th grade winner, Caitlin. 7th grade is Jace, and we also have the 8th grade winner, Leanne. Would you all please come on up? They are here. Let's do one more. And here they are. Let's give them a round of applause. And would you like to come to the microphone or just share? I think you should come to the microphone and share. Well, first off, since they're up there so nicely, let's give them another round of applause. Well done. These words were incredibly challenging. And they want to share with you what they did to practice and how it felt to win because the words were so very difficult. So we'll start. Why don't we just come on over and why don't you start first? Come on in. And introduce yourself.
My name is Angelo Ibrado. I'm 4th grade from Miss R's class, Daniel Webster. So first, I want to thank my parents, my friends, and teachers for encouraging me and helping me during this spelling bee. So first, I had to sacrifice my game time for study time, and it did stress me out a lot, but I still had to keep getting through and studying, but yeah. After that, I also used the Google for pronunciation and to help me figure out what word is it so I could like remember it from the page. After that, for the second question, how how did I feel when I won? I was happy, and I was also really surprised because I was really bad at language arts and ELA, but I was also bad at spelling, but I kept trying and doing my best at it and working hard to accomplish my goal.
Good job.
Okay, okay, my name is Juliana Salcedo. I'm in 5th grade and I go to SBA. So, to practice, it wasn't that stressful. I knew most of the words on there. I just had to I was just practicing by, trying to spell the words on the list and reading them out. And when I won the 5th grade spelling bee, I was pretty surprised because my opponent was really good as well, so it was pretty tough, and it took a bunch of words to spell before I won. Anyways, I was really happy that time, so yeah, that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Jace, would you like to come on up, Jace?
My name is Jace Ong, and I'm in 7th grade, and I go to FDR. I studied with my mom every night. I felt happy and victorious.
Yes.
Thank you, Jace. Good job.
My name is Leanne Fernandez. Sorry. I'm in 8th grade and I go to TRP. So I'm gonna be honest, studying wasn't really the best. I didn't really study that much. I'm surprised I got past my class 1 even, because I honestly forgot about it, and I kind of crammed it in during lunch. But I would say that I won just because it was really just luck and prior knowledge.
How did you feel once you
I was really surprised, honestly, but I was also overwhelmed with excitement and stuff like that.
Good job.
Thank you.
And then Caitlin. This is our grand champion for our district. Introduce yourself and where you.
My name is Caitlin Domine, and I'm in 6th grade, and I go to Fernando Rivera. And for studying, I studied the words on the spelling bee list with my mom every night. And for winning the spelling bee, it was extremely surprising because I never actually really thought I'd get that far. Because I mostly did the spelling bee for fun. And so, yeah.
Let's give them all a big round of applause.
And the final word was ulterior. So great job to everybody. Big round of applause to everybody. Great.
Are there any comments or commendations from fellow trustees? And if so, I'm going to start on my right-hand side.
Well, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you to all the students who won and who competed and represented their schools and our district so well. And it takes a lot of courage to get up there and have that tested. I know from competing in a spelling bee a long time ago that it's a pretty nerve-wracking experience. So you did extremely well. And thank you to Vice Principal Hansen, Principal Hong for organizing everything. I think it was a wonderful event and evening for our district.
Yes, I agree. You did extremely well. Congratulations. And I'm also an English teacher, so to hear someone say that a spelling bee was fun sounds good to me. Keep it up. And when you talk about prior knowledge and not necessarily studying, when it comes to spelling, one of the best ways to learn how to spell is to be a good reader. So I'm sure you read a lot. Yeah, is that true? Yeah. So that you're right. It is that prior knowledge, and then cramming does work at times as well. So anyway, keep it up.
Again, just to echo everybody else, congratulations. I heard a couple of you say you were bad at English language arts. That's also me. And then I became a linguist. So, some of you, I see some future linguists here, especially with your spelling skills. I also feel the sacrifice of game time. I will tell you though, even as an adult, that's what I do after work sometimes. So you are not losing it, you're displacing it. You're just using your time for something to build yourself right now, and you're going to get that time back later. So it's never lost. And then the last thing I wanted to say is about luck and prior knowledge. That's pretty much how I think this is an adult secret. That's how we get through everything. So you're not doing anything wrong. So congratulations.
I echo my fellow board trustees' sentiments. I actually really appreciate you all for being transparent and honest about how or how not you studied. I had a fun trick. I still do it. Sometimes my family don't like it, which is I actually watch all movies and all series with the subtitles on. And so also it allows me to learn how to spell the word. So if you're not doing that, that's a way to practice without practicing. The other thing I was going to say is there's something called growth mindset. I don't know if all of you have heard about that, right? But your skills, you're not born with those skills. You really develop them later on. And so for those of you that said, I'm really not good at English, or, you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes it's luck, and sometimes you really did earn it. And sometimes you don't realize that you were prepared until you get there. And so never doubt yourself. Always believe that you can and you will. And you will. So thank you for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. Also, Ms. Hong and Ms. Hansen. I was there that night. It was amazing. There was so much energy there and excitement. And obviously to the parents that supported your children through this. This is a lifelong skill: public speaking, reading, spelling. It's going to take them beyond the classroom. And so you should be very proud. And with that, we have some certificates. Again, and I'm going to have my fellow board trustees help hand these out. And then when we call your name, please come up and we'll give you a handshake and a certificate. And I'm going to start this evening. So this is a certificate of achievement for Jace Zachary Ong for outstanding achievement in the 2023 spelling bee, given this day, the 19th of April. And then I have another certificate achievement for Leanne Fernandez for outstanding achievement in the 2023 spelling bee.
Certificate of Achievement for Outstanding Achievement in the 2023 Spelling Bee for Juliana Corinne Salcedo.
For outstanding achievement in the 2023 Spelling Bee, Angelo Nathan Abrado.
And finally, our champion of the Spelling Bee, Certificate of Achievement for Outstanding Achievement in the 2023 Spelling Bee, Caitlin Dominy.
I would like to give a round of applause again for all of our winners. Everyone's a victor here today, so.
Hopefully they don't have any ulterior motives with those.
Thank you again. We're moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 7D, the California Voting Rights Act. This is going to be some information that the Deputy County Counsel at the County of San Mateo will present on movements in the county and options available for our board.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Craig Baumgartner. I'm a Deputy County Counsel for the County of San Mateo. I fear that, for starters, following the Spelling Bee Champions is a bit of a tough act, and I'm certain that this topic is less inspirational than what you've heard so far tonight. But thank you, President Jordan and Superintendent Vidalis, for inviting me tonight to come and talk. I do have a presentation. Are we able to load that up on the screen, or? Wonderful. Oh no. Oh no. I know. No, you know what? I'm married to a 5th grade teacher, so it's not the first time that's happened to me. Thank you so much. Exactly. Well, we're talking tonight about yeah, you have a copy of it. We're talking tonight about the California Voting Rights Act. I know that I and others in my office have talked to or presented to the board on this topic in the past, but we have some new faces. And so I think the thinking was it was a good time to come back in and talk about this topic again. Certainly you've heard about it before. And you have the slides in front of you. So I'll go through a little bit. The first slide talks about the overview. So I'll talk a little bit about the background of the law and district elections. Provide a little bit of an overview, safe harbor, and talk about the process. This is informational tonight. You're not being asked to take any action. But there, and I guess I should clarify, because you read about this in the paper, that this district has not received a demand letter yet from an attorney saying, convert now, but it's always good to be prepared, right? So that's what we're here to do. There are essentially two types of voting systems that are available to school districts. One is the at-large system. That's the one that you currently have, where every several years, all members, all voters within the jurisdiction have the ability to vote on whichever trustees are up for election in that particular election. The other is referred to as sometimes as by district election. We in the school district world try to refer to it as by trustee area, because otherwise it gets even more confusing. And you might have heard of some other types of voting systems, cumulative, limited, ranked choice, things like that. Those are not available to school districts under California law. So we're really talking about at-large and by trustee areas, and even some of those hybrid systems that other non-school districts that have tried to utilize don't insulate you from a CVRA lawsuit, but that's neither here nor there for us. The California Voting Rights Act, we're on, I think, the fourth slide now, broadly prohibits the use of at-large elections when they result in a protected class being impaired from electing candidates of its choice or influencing the outcomes of an election. That's what we refer to as racially polarized voting. The California Voting Rights Act is actually relatively new. It was enacted in 2001. It was modeled after the federal Voting Rights Act, which came in 1965. But the California version actually makes it significantly easier for plaintiffs for plaintiffs to initiate the process. So it's also a lower standard for plaintiffs in these lawsuits. So you see the cases being filed as California Voting Rights Act cases and not under the federal law. Something you'll see on there that's hard for folks to understand sometimes is that proof of intent to discriminate is not a required element of a California Voting Rights Act claim. And like I said, it's much broader than the federal counterpart. So what is required to show a violation of the California Voting Rights Act? You must show, and this is the next slide, you must show a difference in the choice of candidates or other electoral choices that are preferred by voters in a protected class and the electoral choices that are preferred by voters in the rest of the electorate. That's from the Elections Code. It's shown by three things. One, you have a voting block of a protected class. Protected class members is defined, as you hear in the law, that's essentially by race and minority, or by race and ethnicity, I'm sorry. So one is a voting block of potential class members. Two, a block of voters outside of the protected class, and a candidate favored by the protected class of voters that have historically not been elected. What does that mean exactly? It sort of kind of depends. The law is not entirely specific. And another thing that is, this is one of these situations where the California legislature, I think, kind of decided to punt on this. They passed the law and they said, but we're not really going to be the ones to enforce it. We're not going to tell cities, counties, school districts, you have to do this. We'll let private plaintiffs enforce it, and we'll be a bit vague, and we'll sort of let it sort itself out, which, hasn't been great for the entities that have received these demands. But the long and the short of it is that establishing a CVRA violation is a lot easier than under the federal law. One of the things that's much different than California law and the federal law is that you don't need to establish under the California law whether the protected class constitutes a majority of voters in the district. That's part of why it's harder to do the federal law. So litigation under the California Voting Rights Act, that's what we read about in the papers. It provides a private right of action. Anyone can enforce this. What we've seen is that there have been several enterprising attorneys who've built their practices filing these lawsuits up and down the state. The reason they do it is that the prevailing plaintiff has the right to recover attorney's fees and expert witness fees if it goes to trial. That's a one-sided rule. If you get sued for a violation and you win, you don't get your own attorney's fees. And the fees and costs are substantial. And more critically, the local agencies that have tried to defend themselves in these lawsuits haven't done well. And so for the most part, what we've seen is that when cities, counties, any entity that votes or that is voted on has received these, they've tended to not have much success, and the risks are pretty high. You'll see on the next slide, and we're on to page 7 here, these numbers might even be a little bit outdated now in terms of the impact in the 22 years that the law's been in effect. Over 165 school districts, I'd put that number now probably more like 180 or 190. Community college districts, cities, counties, even special districts have been converting at a relatively quick pace when they've, some of them when they've received the demand letter, some of them have done it sort of affirmatively, and we'll talk about that in a minute as to why you might do that. The key issue in these is almost always the award, the risk of costs and fees if you fight and you lose. The next slide here just has some examples of settlements. The most extreme one is the Palmdale case that resulted in a $4.7 million verdict against the city of Palmdale when they had tried to oppose one of these. Anaheim, Modesto, Santa Barbara, they get into the six figures pretty quickly. And like I said, the net effect here is, as I mentioned, the state legislature could have just mandated that everyone do this, or they could have said jurisdictions or whatever of a certain size just do this. they chose not to, and that's put everyone at risk of a lawsuit. And that's the landscape that we're dealing with in this world. So I have a slide here on page 9 that talks about many of the local cities and school districts and other entities that have converted. I think that this is mostly accurate. Some of the most recent ones in the last year or two have been the San Mateo Foster City School District and the Burlingame School District, City of Burlingame, San Mateo High School District. Those are all in the last, I'd say, like 2 or 3 years. So the next slide here talks a little bit about, by trustee area elections. I think, you can certainly, there are pros and cons, and those have been debated pretty extensively. These by trustee area or by district elections are presumptively compliant with the CVRA. Since the passage of the law in 2002, like I mentioned, hundreds of school districts have transitioned. There's an extensive statutorily prescribed process that you go through when you convert. I have some slides on that later in the presentation. The district map is divided into trustee areas based on population numbers. The phrase that you hear is communities of interest. We'll talk a little bit about what that means. And many other factors determined with public input. There are 2 safe harbors. One is it came into effect in 2017. It's the AB 350 safe harbor. This is what happens when you get a litigation demand letter from an attorney. If you within a certain amount of time, if the board decides we will transition, they do a resolution of intent. They go through the whole process. That caps the amount of attorney's fees that a plaintiff's attorney can claim at $30,000. The other safe harbor is that if you transition to by trustee area elections, you are immune from a lawsuit under the CVRA. I think we've talked about this a lot. We talk about this a lot at the county. I think that I know from this board, from prior discussions, it's hard to go from feeling like you are a board member who is elected by the entire district, and you are representing the entire district, to perhaps feeling as though you are elected by a certain district within the district's jurisdiction. And I think, I've talked to a lot of school board members about that. That's been, and other folks about that too. It's a really, I think, tough thing to go through. I'd say that what I've observed somewhat anecdotally from the board members I've spoken with who have transitioned from at-large to by trustee area is, especially, maybe this is more of a school district thing than a city thing or a county thing. I think that the board members still do really feel it doesn't become quite so provincial. They really do still see the entire district as their jurisdiction, and it's not like, well, sorry, you're not in my trustee area. Go talk to my neighbor on the left. All right, and I apologize for moving through this so quick. I know you have a packed agenda tonight. So the next slide talks a little bit about the transition process. Again, I want to make clear you have not received a demand letter. And in fact, I don't think you even have another election for board members until 2024. So you've got a good amount of time here to think about this. But if you do decide to transition, the first step is this board adopts a resolution of intent to transition. That then gives you some amount of time to go through the process. I think it's 90 days to complete the process. And if you do that, then that safe harbor applies. Step 2, once you've adopted that notice of intent to transition, is you develop and adopt those maps. Oftentimes the question is, who draws the maps? And the answer is, you do. Well, the demographer that you hire does. But you'll work with a demographer, the community, and that demographer will work and solicit community feedback. Eventually, once the board does decide on its maps, the plan goes to the county committee on school district organization for approval. there are if you adopt a resolution of intent and you don't complete the process, that happens. Sometimes the process starts and doesn't complete. That's fine. It's just at the end of those 90 days after that resolution of intent, if you haven't completed the process, you could then get a demand letter. Talking a little bit about trustee area map factors. I know this is getting a little bit granular, but this is back to that communities of interest. There are really a couple of questions in that process. One is, what are your neighborhoods? What are your communities of interest? Is it school attendance areas? Is it natural neighborhood dividing lines, areas around parks or other landmarks, common issues, activities, concerns, shared demographic characteristics, all sorts of things. Visible boundaries on maps. Like there's a lot that goes into it. There are some demographers who've become real experts in this area. And so if it seems overwhelming, just know that there are people to help you if you decide to go through this process. The other big question is, and one of the things that's interesting sometimes in this is, do these communities of interest, once you've figured out what they are, do they want to be united into a single district, or do they want to be spread out across maybe multiple districts? I tend to support the latter, but that's, another kind of question in the process. It's really, I would say it's pretty fascinating to go through it. And I know that, some of you who saw the census data in the last couple of years and saw that, it really is an interesting process to work through. There's a map on the next page here on page 13, or a couple of maps. That's just noting some of your visible boundaries, your neighborhoods, looking at things like, 280, Highway 35, Mission Street, or your neighborhoods, Serramonte, Westlake, Broadmoor, Colma, things like that. Some other considerations are, the district, when you transition, or if you transition, your district boundaries don't change. The terms of the current board members do not change. You all serve out your current terms. The by trustee area maps are adjusted after the census, so that happens every 10 years. Or if you were to do this next year, it would wait till 2030. Again, there is a requirement that the maps be established 6 months before, I believe, a primary election. So that would give you a fair amount of time if this was something you were seriously considering doing prior to 2024. And something that's really important is that you can solicit public input before deciding whether to transition to by trustee area elections. And so I think that, that's something that that might be, I don't know if the board's going to have a discussion on this evening, or, but that's certainly something to think about.
I think they'll have a minimal discussion. I think we'll schedule some other opportunities for discussion in the future.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, the broad question for you all is, at this point, is does the district want to voluntarily undertake a conversion, or do you want to do that now? Do you want to do that later? Or do you want to wait for a relevant stakeholder to politely invite you to do it? I think, from what I understand, I'm reluctant to provide, otherwise privileged recommendations in an open session meeting, but like Superintendent Vidal said, I'm happy to come back and answer those sorts of questions more granularly in another setting. And I know there are all sorts of questions about this, and maybe even some I'm sure some I haven't heard yet. I'm never surprised. There is a slide on page 16 that provides sort of a summary of the transition process, which I think is sort of a useful just sort of list for you to have and keep in mind. And like I said, I apologize for rushing through this so quick, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I have one question, Mr. Brommer. You mentioned that the process and maps should be completed and adopted. Does that include the county commission adopting also by 6 months before primary?
Yes, it does. Okay. My understanding is that is something of a formality.
Okay, so California's primary is now in March. Is that correct? So March 24?
For 2024?
I believe it is. So that would mean that we'd have to have this completed by September if we wanted meet that deadline. I don't know if that's possible. I mean, and part of the reason is my transition out, and then Miss McCulloch's transition in. It might be something that I'm not going to say it's not possible. I'm just going to say, is that where we want to spend the time in the next 6 months, or do we plan for a 2026 election? So that's just one consideration.
I think that that's absolutely right. I mean, I think that you all have a better sense of your constituents than I do. But I think that the first step is soliciting public input and getting a sense of how your constituents feel about this and what they want to see happen. And, like I said, the nice thing for you is that you are not sort of under the gun on this right now. I can tell you that can change very quickly, including sometimes for districts that might not expect to receive these sorts of demands.
Yeah, I was going to say that when you said someone could stakeholder nicely ask, because I was like, I don't know if it would be a nice ask. But with that, are there any other questions from fellow trustees?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say I'm fully in support of us making this move. And there was a presentation about this at the CSBA conference. And when, I was in the meeting and I came back and asked, could we put this on the agenda? So thank you. I'm looking forward to, our actual, when we're making a decision about it.
I also echo my fellow board trustee sentiments. I know we had a conversation about this when I first started the board, so we're having this conversation again. I think it was really good to have our fellow newer trustees kind of gain some insight into that. I do think that we may need to schedule more of a closed session meeting where we can get into a little bit more granularity around some of the impact that this will have. And just our considerations as we move forward in terms of timeline. I do also want to take into consideration the transition of a new superintendent, ensuring that we don't put too much on or try to take on too much too soon. But I also don't want to put ourselves in a position, even though from a racial standpoint, I guess we may not have that issue. However, I do know that I read somewhere that a board that was racially diverse did get served. And so I don't want us to think that that is a reason for us not to move forward either. So
I appreciate that. And I absolutely would be very happy to come back and have that sort of conversation and offer you those sorts of, the recommendations and advice you're paying the big bucks for. Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate Mr. Baumgartner for coming in and giving us this presentation, and you'll be talking to us soon.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I think it's been since before COVID that I've had an opportunity to see this board in person. So, and what a lovely night in Daly City, huh? Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. We are going to be moving to item 7E. So the current superintendent will be taking vacation for the weeks immediately preceding his retirement on June 30th. This agreement will compensate Ms. McCulloch for the days worked as acting superintendent during this period. And then the administration recommends the designation of Ms. McCulloch as the acting superintendent for the period of June 14th through the 30th of this year, according to the attached memorandum. If there are no comments or questions, I will entertain a motion.
All right, so moved.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous and the quickest vote we've had. Moving on to item 7F, resolution number 230419B, classified administrative professionals day. The administration recommends adoption of this resolution recognizing April 26th as classified administrative professionals day. Are there any comments?
Can I motion to approve?
Oh, let's do it.
I'd like to make a comment really quickly.
There we go. Yes.
Just a comment saying thanks to our classified administrators and I know it can be a difficult position and it's precarious at times. So thank you for all your great work.
I guess I'll also comment on that. Just thank you to all the classified, I said it right the first time, classified professionals out there. You all get a lot of support from students, and I know that they say thank you, but we want to say thank you from us, and you're acknowledged. And continue doing the great work you do supporting your administrators and your certificated staff, because without you, we'd be on Poop Creek without a paddle.
I echo what my fellow trustees have said. Thank you.
And we already had a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Did you motion and second?
No, I motioned this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Ms. Culveray, could you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Rashba?
Aye.
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
Mr. Sujisaka?
Aye.
Ms. Jordan?
Aye. That was unanimous, and it is officially the Classified Administrative Professionals Day on April 26th. Congratulations, and we again appreciate you. We're moving on to item 7G, Resolution 230419C for National and California Day of the Teacher. So the administration recommends the adoption of this resolution recognizing May 2nd as National Teacher Appreciation Day and May 10th as California Day of the Teacher. Are there any comments? If there are no comments,
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, there we go.
I'll be remiss not to congratulate all the teachers, including myself. Keep up the good work, and that's it.
I echo that sentiment. I realize that I have some teachers on this board, and so thank you for your service. We really appreciate it. I actually remember before the pandemic, when things were open for Teacher Appreciation Day, I was on the PTA, and we just did it big. We got food, and we did decorations, and we handed out cards. And again, it's like kind of what I said earlier, that little piece of kindness to someone that maybe was having a bad day, a teacher that's maybe been in a classroom, it's hot, kids are maybe not all following the instruction, and coming out and having someone say, you know what, you are appreciated. It just really makes the world of a difference. And so I'm really glad to see this resolution on our agenda, and I'm ready for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
For a second, all those this is a roll call vote.
Mr. Rashba?
Aye.
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
Mr. Sujisaka?
Aye.
Ms. Jordan?
Aye. That was unanimous. Congratulations to our teachers. We appreciate you. We are going to be moving to resolution number 230419D, National Nurse Day. So we recommend the adoption of this resolution, recommending that May 10th be National Nurse Day. Also noting that that is also the same day that's California Teacher Day. So it's a combined national recognition for our nurses and California teachers. Are there any comments or questions on this? Yes.
I have a quick comment for this one. So again, just as we've been appreciating everybody, but appreciation to our school nurses. We are so understaffed in the state of California for nurses, and we know that you are working 3 or 4 people's jobs. But again, as President Jordan said about teachers, we want to just acknowledging you all is such a huge feat. Even if it's just one day, you're acknowledged all year round by the students that you're helping with all the medical needs. And so we really appreciate you. So thank you.
Are there any other comments?
And I certainly echo what Trustee Sujisaka said, and just want to note what a challenging time that it is coming on the heels of the pandemic. Mental health, physical health, it's really difficult for our schools, our students, our families now. So the work you do, our school nurses, is extremely essential, and thank you.
You have a comment?
Thank you. Trustee Rashba just said everything I was going to say.
And I'm going to say for anyone out there that's thinking about going into nursing, now is a really good time because we're going to celebrate you. But it is well deserved, and I also echo my fellow trustees' sentiments. So with that, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the resolution.
There's second.
Second.
This is a roll call vote. Ms. Kovare.
Mr. Rashba,
Aye.
Mr. Ali,
Aye.
Mr. Sujisaka,
Aye.
Ms. Jordan.
Aye, that was unanimous. Congratulations to our nurses, our teachers, and our classified administrative professionals. We, again, echoing that we appreciate you and all that you do. So actually, the only thing I was going to say is, Mr. Rosales, you'll still be here. On these days, is there a way that we could just get an email or something just showing what was done on those campuses? Because I know things are happening. I just want to see like how things are going and just hey, it was a good day. Ben did this, or
what I'll do is I'll create a folder for principals to drop photos in,
Perfect.
and then I'll share that folder
that would be
with you.
awesome. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item 8C, Susan B. Anthony overnight camping trip. So this annual camping trip is in collaboration with and funded by the Jefferson Union High School District's Wilderness School, with additional funding provided by the town of Colma. An additional 15 to 20 volunteers from Wilderness School will also chaperone various aspects of the trip. The administration recommends approval of the overnight stay requested by grade 3 at Susan B. Anthony. They will have at least 3 teachers from SBA and Wilderness School supervising 50 students at the San Bruno Mountain Park on May 4th and 5th. Do we have any information on this at all? Just quick, is this something that has been done?
Oh yeah, we haven't done it since 2019, but it's been done every year prior to that. They go up to San Bruno Park. If you're familiar with the Saddle Trail, there's the day camp space, but that for special events like this, they converted into overnight camping. Perfect. So it's got tents, picnic tables. It's best when it's not windy because it gets the brunt of the harsh winds up there at that point. But kids have had a blast. The students from the Wilderness School are really good with our students, and they enjoy hiking. And I don't know if they use the ropes course there or some of the activities there, but there's a ropes course also on the hillside. So,
awesome. Are there any comments or questions from fellow trustees on this?
I was just going to comment that it's really nice to have this program in our own backyard, and so often we don't appreciate what's right here, and so I think it's tremendous for the students and the families just to get to experience that resource in a different way. So I'm glad to see this resolution come up.
Yeah, and I think in previous years, and I don't know if it'll be this way this year, the adventure starts with a hike up the mountain to the campsite. I think they send their bags and sleeping bags and all other supplies on vehicles, but the students start hiking up San Bruno Mountain from their school.
That's awesome. Are there any other comments or questions?
I'm concerned about travel costs. I'm kidding.
Bad joke. Actually, I just have a few comments. I'm really happy to see this. I echo Trustee Rashba's comments on the agenda. I think that it's good that we're able to give our students more than just the 5th graders, like an offsite where they're able to connect outside of learning in the classroom or on the playground. I also, as we talk about mental health, and as we've seen presentations where our students are in the gardens, or they're learning outdoors. We see that being outdoors really helps with mood improvement, and so having our 3rd graders go down there, even if it's just for 2 nights, and experience what it would be like camping, and maybe for some people that have never camped before, sleeping outdoors. Our weather is letting up now, so hopefully it remains that way, and there is no wind tunnels, and I'm in support of this item on our agenda. So with that, I will entertain a motion.
A motion to approve.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Next item on the agenda is 8D, ELD program updates. Ms. Pace and Ms. LaRoque with Educational Services will present information on the reclassification process, number and percentage of ELs reclassified, and progress on the LCAP goal number 2.
Do I queue it up? Oh, well, good evening. I have not had the pleasure yet of presenting in front of some of the new board members, so allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jennifer LaRoque. I've been in the district for 18 years. 11 of those years, I was principal at Thomas Edison or Daniel Webster. And for the last 7, I've been a principal on special assignment, working on special projects out of the district office. And when our ELD director left suddenly in the fall, I was asked to support some of the work that he was leading. Though I've only been working in the ELD projects since November, my disclaimer is, if you have some questions at the end of the presentation that I don't know the answers to, I promise you I will get you the answers and report back tomorrow. The intention of this presentation is to inform you about the progress of our English language learners and our reclassification structure. And in order to do that, I think it's important that you understand the life cycle of an English language learner within our district. When a student enrolls in one of our schools at any grade level, they receive an enrollment packet. And inside that packet is a home language survey. And according to the Ed Code, if any answer other than English is given to any one of these 4 questions, that application gets flagged as a student who might be an English language learner. At that point, the front office assistant would then notify school leadership of a new student that may require English language development services. If there is evidence of non-English exposure coupled with the home language survey results, the student is then required to take a one-on-one assessment called the initial LPAC. And LPAC stands for English Language Proficiency Assessment. And this assessment must be completed within 30 days from the child enrolling in the school. Once the results of the initial LPAC have been calibrated, the scores are reviewed by site leadership. If a student performs in the initial fluent English proficient level, we call it IFEP, they are not classified as an English learner. However, in California, if a student will be classified as an English learner if their overall performance is in the intermediate learner level or the novice level. If that's the case, a parent notification gets mailed home to families in their home language that explains the scores and the possible placement in an ELD program at their child's home school. If a student qualifies for English language services at school, but the family does not want them to participate, the family has an option to opt out of the services, though this doesn't happen frequently. If they agree with the placement of ELD services, Jefferson offers a strong foundational instructional support program, which they then are placed in. And here's what the program looks like. In TK through 5, all students, regardless of their English classification, participate in grade level activities. The students classified as English learners receive additional support in 2 ways: integrated ELD and designated ELD. Similarly, in 6th through 8th grade, regardless of their English classification, they participate in grade level core classes. Additionally, students who are classified as the English learners receive integrated and designated supports. So, what are our integrated supports? Integrated support strategies are strategies that all teachers use in the core classrooms throughout the day. In February, Jessica Pace and Pam Scott gave a presentation on systematic ELD strategies that they used in the classroom. And they shared examples like think, pair, share, sentence frames, lines of communication. And then I followed up with an email to you all in a report on elevation strategies that our teachers use. Elevation strategies are similar, such as I notice, I wonder, a reader, a reporter, an announcer. And all teaching staff at all the sites have engaged in professional development around these strategies. And all staff have been practicing these strategies in their core classrooms. The strategies are all integrated into the core content areas and are practiced by all of the students. But we place these strategies in the lessons to help support our English language learners engage in the language in a structured manner. Our adopted ELA curriculum, Study, Sync, and Benchmark also prompt and support teachers with key strategies to differentiate instructions for the English learners. Now, designated ELD, we realize that students working towards a mastery of a second language are going to require a little more specialized instruction delivered in an explicit manner. In our K-5 classrooms, all English language learners participate in TIG time, targeted instructional groups. Essentially, the students are grouped together by their language level and their group grade level for 45 minutes every day, to hone in on their language skills instructed by an ELD teacher or a trained certificated teacher. In addition, our ELA curriculum offers tips and tricks on how to engage ELD students specifically on the core lessons. Similarly, in middle school, English learners receive 1 period of designated ELD. Our ELD teachers use systematic ELD and the Study Sync curriculum to instruct the students and support them towards their English proficiency. One of the measures the state uses to check the progress on English proficiency annually is the summative LPAC. This assessment is slightly different than the initial LPAC the students took that placed them to get these services. Our sites are currently administering the summative LPAC to all of our English learners, and this is a huge undertaking because many components of this assessment are administered one-on-one. And I would like to give a special thank you to all the testers and site leads currently managing this task at their sites. The student results are reported to the school site and as well as mailed home. And you can see from this graph that depending on their score, the student becomes categorized at a level. And this leveling is very helpful to the ELD teachers when they differentiate instruction based on the student's proficiency. The family is also notified of their child's summative LPAC score. So, how do we determine when a student is reclassified from an English learner to an English proficient and ready to move on to the monitoring stage? Or do they continue back and do additional ELD services? Well, the California Ed Code has 4 criteria to reclassify an English learner. Number 1, they need a score of 4 on the LPAC. Number 2, for the basic skills qualification, we look at either their district benchmark on FastBridge, where they need to either perform in low risk or college pathways, or we look at their SBAC ELA score, which needs to be a 2 or higher. Number 3, we consult with the parent and we use the reclassification guide to gather their input. And number 4, we ask for teacher input and evaluation of the student. If an English language student meets all these criteria, we reclassify them to a fluent English proficient. We call it RFEP. And they no longer receive designated ELD services. The academic progress of a reclassified student is monitored regularly for a minimum of 4 years, which is required by state and federal guidelines. We do have interventions that are provided to ensure that these students continue to reach their grade level English proficiency and academic achievement. Of course, if a student did not meet the reclassification criteria, they continue to receive our English language development services until they are reassessed. That's the life cycle of the English language learner in Jefferson. So let's take a look at some specific data on who these students are. We currently have 1,792 students that are classified as an English language learner in our district. This graph shows our EL population by grade and by school site. We know that it takes approximately 5 years for a student to become proficient in a language. It's our goal to reclassify 10% of English learners a year. As you can see from this graph, we have fallen a little short, but we are making progress. There is no doubt that the COVID years hindered some of our progress. We all know that a huge benefit from learning a language is immersing yourself in the language. Though English learners still received their integrated and designated ELD services during COVID, many did not have the consistency of being immersed in the language at school on a daily basis. However, with school back in session, we hope that our upward trend continues. As mentioned earlier, when a student is reclassified, we continue to monitor their progress for 4 years. We are currently monitoring 669 reclassified students. A long-term English language learner is defined as a student who has been in a U.S. school for more than 6 years, consistently scoring a 3 on the annual summative LPAC and scoring a grade of not meeting standard on the SBAC. This chart shows the percentage of English learners that are classified as a long-term English learner that we currently have in the district. Again, COVID hindered the progress we were making towards our 5% goal, but we're hopeful that that percentage is going to drop considerably this year. When we look at our English language learners in comparison to our English-speaking students scoring proficient, there is a clear achievement gap. The SBAC test is the same test given to all the students, regardless of their language proficiency. So it's not surprising that our English learners are scoring a bit lower than our English proficient students. However, we're hopeful that with our ELD supports in place, we can lessen the achievement gap. There are some accommodations given for the SBAC state assessment that are embedded into the test that we train our students to use or to take advantage of, such as speech to text, audible sections, and they can highlight passages as they read them. Additional supports are also accommodated if the student has a 504 or an IEP. In math, the state assessments are administered similarly. There's one test regardless of the student's language level, and they're not translated. The district LCAP goal has a lofty goal for us to strive for, but with the proper supports in place, we are hopeful to make progress. Lastly, I'd like to share some of our Tier 1 and Tier 2 supports we have recently added to our ELD service program. Imagine Learning. It's an online program with research-based results that support English learners to accelerate their reading and language proficiency. We currently have 450 students actively using Imagine Learning. Our ELD teachers. This year we added trained, dedicated ELD teachers to most sites, supporting daily TIG time and ELD class in the middle school. They've been instrumental in assisting with the summative LPAC testing. They attend collaborative monthly meetings with Jessica Pace and have been an integral part of our site staffs. Summer Learning. This summer we have 5 programs hosted by the district, and 2 of the programs offer priority to English language students to retain consistency in their education. iExcel is a program that we hope to contract with in the fall. It's a computer-based math program that helps students master essential skills at their own pace. And Lexia and PowerUp is a language computer program that teachers are able to prioritize and differentiate instruction while allowing students to develop critical reading skills at their own pace. We are committed to supporting our English learners and strive for their success. Thank you.
Are there any comments or questions from fellow trustees? Start on my left.
All right. Well, thank you for that very thorough presentation. There's so much information. I got overwhelmed with it, which is which in a good way. I had a couple of, I'm sure you did. I had a couple of questions. So This is a short one. Who writes the letters to the families at home in their translated languages?
They are computer generated depending on the outcome of the students' test scores. And then we
Awesome.
push them out here from the district office to the homes.
Awesome. And then I know that this last year the district has switched middle school programs in ELD. So I was wondering how that was going.
That would be a great question for an ELD principal. However, for a middle school principal, but I do know that if you're an English language learner, one of your electives is ELD class. And now that we have English language teachers teaching those classes, they seem to be going quite well.
Thank you for the update.
I just had a question about summer learning. Do you happen to know the percentage of our students who are English language learners who participate in summer learning?
Of the 5 programs, 2 are dedicated for priority for English language learners, and I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere around 75 to 85%.
Okay, thank you.
In the 2 programs that prioritize them.
I was just wondering, thank you for the presentation, very, very informative. I was just wondering if any of the techniques have been filtered down to like even the preschool, level, or if there's any way of making contact with parents of, children before they enter the JESD.
Our preschool program currently works off different strategies that they implement within the program, but it's definitely an idea that we can bring back to an AC and give the parents the opportunity to learn the strategies so that they work on them at home. So by the time we get to them, it's already a routine for them.
Thank you, Ms. LaRock. The only question I have, and maybe this is for Superintendent Vidal, is when do we aggregate these, I guess, the numbers for the year? Is it like the beginning of the new school year? Is it at the end of the school year?
Well, students take the SBAC in the spring. We get the results back at the end of August, and that's sort of signals identifying any English learners that might qualify for reclassification.
Before the school year starts or after?
As the school year is starting. So, right. So usually we try to enter into that reclassification process conversation and have it completed by December. Is that right?
It's closer to October because we
Okay.
need the summative LPAC scores that are happening right now,
Okay.
combined with the SBAC scores that are going to happen next week.
Yeah.
And once we get those scores together, we try to do it as soon as possible because for many of the teachers, it sets their class rosters. So
So
October is
because
our deadline.
The only reason why I asked that is because I'm thinking if we find the test scores from their previous class not until after school starts, then they're basically have a couple months where they're not classified correctly and they are.
Yeah, this is particularly problematic in the middle school
Yeah, it
when they
sounds
have
like
that ELD period. So there's some switching that happens in October, November. It's like you can take another elective and you're in third period, but the only elective we have is ceramics. So you have to.
And there is no way to speed up the process of getting those.
We
scores
don't
back.
get the results back from the SBAC at the earliest would be as school starting, like August 15th.
Interesting.
And then it does require teacher recommendation, so that takes some time, and then it requires parental consent, and that requires some time. So as Ms. LaRock mentioned, maybe the earliest could be early October. So, yeah, it is a quandary, and if we could get things back sooner, these results back, both the summative LPAC as well as the CASP results, we can at least start with a list of here are the possible students who might qualify even before school starts, and we can place them in classrooms where it'd be easy either to convert that whole class into an elective, Like, okay, we're no longer doing ELD. Today we're going to learn creative writing,
Yeah.
So
This is helpful. For me, I'm not new to education, but I think it just, for it to take that long to get results back seems like a detriment to our students. And, but it's helpful to understand that our hands are tied, and it seems like I figure out how we can advocate for getting it sped
when
up.
California was its most efficient, I think we got the results back the first week in August.
Okay.
I mean, I guess that's part of being a big state. We've got millions of students, and whatever percentage of that are taking it, that's how many tests they got. So
Interesting. Okay. Well, this again was super helpful. We really appreciate it. We look forward to getting the update in the fall.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to item 9B, resolution number 230419, authorizing the establishment of a bank clearing account. Administration recommends the approval and adoption of this resolution. Are there any questions? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I will move to approve this resolution.
I second.
There's a first and a second. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Rashba,
Aye.
Mr. Ali,
Aye.
Mr. Sujisaka,
Aye.
Ms. Jordan.
Aye. That was unanimous. Motion is approved. Moving to 9C, Resolution 230419A. This is a resolution authorizing the establishment of a bank clearing account. And so just to be clear, the first one we approved was for Bank of America. The second one is for Tri-Counties Bank. So we have two different bank clearing accounts. And so if there are no questions on this one, I will also entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a first and a second. This is also a roll call vote.
Mr. Rashba,
Aye.
Mr. Ali,
Aye.
Mr. Sujisaka,
Aye.
Ms. Jordan.
Aye. That was unanimous. Moving to item 9E, district-wide telephone systems upgrade. The district is upgrading its phone systems to voice over IP to mitigate sporadic outages at sites. This upgrade will enhance security by allowing communications to be on fiber and provide necessary backup if any specific site has a power interruption. The administration recommends board approval of a contract with Kelso Communications Incorporated for a district-wide upgrade of the telephone systems to voice over IP in the amount of $434,000, 440 and 5 cents per NCPA contract pricing schedule, ASV 9500. A 10% contingency is included to cover unforeseen conditions to be pre-approved by the district's administration. This will be funded by the ESSER 3 funds. Is there any comments or questions on this one? Only comment I have is I'm glad that we are moving into the 21st century with this upgrade. And since it is already funded by ESSER 3, you've already put in the contingency. I think you've answered most of those questions. And so I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve this.
Second.
There is a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is approved. Moving on to item 9H, fiscal year 2021-22 annual financial audit report for year ended June 30th, 2022. Audit partner with I. Bailey will be summarizing the results of the audit. The administration recommends the acceptance and approval once this presentation is made on those audited financials for the 21-22 year ended June 30th, submitted by the auditing firm. I know this one was one that we had pushed out, so we're excited to have this on the agenda.
Right. Thank you. This is the annual financial report of the district. Alongside with it comes the performance audit for the bonds at the district. The scope of the audit is to ensure that the financial statements are fairly stated, It is a process that we started at the beginning of the year. We split the audit into 3 phases: the interim phase, the final phase, and then reporting phase. Interim phase is when we come here and we take a look at the internal controls, the manner you process receipts, disbursements, and payroll. We like to see segregations, review processes. We also review state and federal compliance. You receive state funding and federal funding, and there are some requirements in there to audit. Come back at final after management closes the books. It is the process of confirming the balances that are reported on the financial statements. Effectively, these reports are an affirmation to the financial information that was presented to you by management. And then the last phase, which is the reporting phase, it's a process in which we ensure that the financial statements adhere to the reporting standards. They call them JESD. And I'm pleased to let you know that we issued a clean opinion on the financial statements, meaning that they are fairly stated in all material respect. We did have a finding in there with respect to the manner that is reported, and that is unique. There was a new, I believe, certificate of participation that was issued in the 22 fiscal year. And, the way that the accounting standards require reporting these, they are typically reported as revenue, even though it's debt. But districts is, government, and they follow modified accrual basis of accounting. And there were some corrections in that in the way that the revenues are reported. So management corrected the recommendation based on the auditor's recommendation. And so these financial statements reflect the adjustments with respect to the issuance of debt. Further with this also, you'll see Proposition 39. This is for Measure U of the district. Again, the requirement is to segregate the funding and the expenses of that ballot, of that measure, from the district's funding. So it's basically 2 components. One component is just to make sure that district funds are separated from the construction funds. Confirm the proceeds that were issued. We confirm that leftover cash within that Measure U. And then the second one is ensuring that the expenses are in compliance with what the voters had voted on. So we pull a significant amount of expenses to sample from that measure, and we sit with your project managers, and we ensure that these expenses are in compliance with the ballot language. And with respect to the Proposition 39, Measure U, we issued a clean opinion. And with that, I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
Are there any comments or questions from fellow trustees? We really appreciate, I know we had to extend this, and so we appreciate you taking the time to go through it more thoroughly. We've reviewed all the paperwork in advance. It's very straightforward. And so we really appreciate this presentation, and thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, this is an action item. So I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the annual financial audit reports for year ended June 30th, 2022.
I second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will be moving to item 10A, certificated retirements, revised retirement date for 2022-23. The administration recommends approval of the retirement request and retirement revision dates, and also requests an appropriate resolution be prepared commending those with 10 or more years of service with the district from the following. Christina, and I'm probably going to not pronounce all these names correctly, so please bear with me. Christina Tomsovic, PK teacher, GP, effective June 10th of this year. Ms. Tomsovic has been employed with the district since March of 2015. We have Susan Raboy from 7th grade PE teacher at TRP, effective 6/10 of this year. Ms. Raboy has been employed with the district since September of 1993. Mary R. Karagiannis, a 1st grade teacher at Sorry, it's a long night here. First grade teacher effective September 2nd. Ms. Giannis has been employed with the district since August of 1989. Carolyn Leonard Attard, first grade teacher, also effective June 10th. Ms. Attard has been employed with the district since September of 1988. And then Mary Jo Kabata Akarise, TK Garden Village, effective 7/24 of 2023. Ms. K has been requested a revised retirement date from the June 10th original to, so I have a question here. It said effective 7/24, but it says changing to 7/25. Is that accurate?
My understanding is yes, it is. Initially, she had done the 10th of June, but she has moved it back because she's going to be participating in
Okay,
summer
perfect.
school.
So I'm just making sure because it says effective the 24th, but then it's changing the date to the 25th on the, so I just want to make sure that I'm reading that correctly.
Is that the 24th is her last work day?
The 24th is going to be
And
her
then the
last
start
work.
is the 25th.
The 25th is the
Perfect. That's
effective
my
one.
confirmation. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this?
I had another question on another date. I noticed that September 2nd is in the very beginning part of the school year. I was just wondering if that's accurate.
That's accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. With that, are there any other comments?
I have comments. I wanted to thank all of these teachers for their service and congratulate them on their retirement. But I particularly want to give thanks to Mary Karaginas and Carolyn Attard from Woodrow Wilson, since I had the honor to know them both there. Mrs. Attard taught both of my kids at Woodrow Wilson, who both absolutely adored her. And, you know, in teaching them, she always exhibited a great sense of humor, love of learning, and care and concern for every kid in the class. I particularly saw this during the 2021 school year, the year when most of us were remote learning. And Mrs. Attard had one of my kids in the class, and I imagine she would say this was not her best year, but I saw her just working so hard and making tremendous effort to connect with every kid in the class and teach despite the challenges of doing so. And our child learned a lot that year. And you know, we really credit it to Mrs. Attard's extraordinary effort and dedication. And I know this could be said about so many other teachers in our district. Our kids did not have Ms. Karaginas as their teacher, but I felt like every day at Woodrow Wilson, I saw Ms. KG always there at the gate greeting kids and making sure everyone was okay. And she knew our kids and our family, even though they were not her students. So I just want to congratulate and thank both of these teachers, thank them for their service, and wish them well in their retirement.
Any other comments?
I have just one quick one. I don't think I could follow that, but I wanted to thank Susan Roboy. You know, she's been a longtime family friend. She's known me since I was a very young little kid. So I just wanted to thank you for all your years of service.
Yeah, I'd actually like to echo that and just remember the great work that Ms. Roboy did with peer mediation and conflict resolution at her site as well.
And as also a parent whose daughter did have one of the teachers as well, Ms. K was the TK teacher of my youngest during the pandemic. So started off in the classroom, ended up on Zoom. Cannot imagine having TK students on Zoom calls. It was a very interesting thing to see. I remember sitting next to my child and having to say, you gotta stay on the computer, you know, they're under the table or they're, and so Ms. K really handled that very well. And I'm actually pretty surprised that most of these teachers didn't decide to retire right after that. So we really appreciate the dedication and all the hard work. And I mean, really, some of them have been with the district for just 30 plus years, and it's just really amazing to see the impact that they've made on not only the students but the families as well. So congratulations to every single one of our retirees tonight. And with that, I will take a motion.
Motion, so moved.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous.
Can I just quickly make them?
Yes.
The 5 of these folks together represent over 130 years of instruction in our district.
Wow.
I did it on my computer. What are y'all talking?
Is there even a person alive that's 130 years old? I don't know.
The world record is actually around that.
Oh,
actually.
wow.
I think so. And still
Wow.
alive, I think.
That's really commendable.
It's a lot of teaching.
Yeah, even though we are going to be sad to see them leave, because what that does is opens up roles for other people. But we're going to have their memories of the work that they've done with us live on. So really excited for them in their new chapter in their lives. And with that, we're going to an appointment. So we're going to 10F, an administrative appointment for the 2023-24 school year. The administration recommends approval of the following administrative appointment for Ms. Dina Conti, Program Director for Assessment, Accountability, and Multilingual Student Services, 1 MWMA Step 12 plus $1,100 for MA degree, effective July 20th, 2023. Are there any comments, questions?
Just words of congratulations.
Also wanted to congratulate Ms. Conti. I had the pleasure of having my daughter, my oldest, that's crazy, so many years now, when Ms. Conti was at Tobias, and then she moved to Fernando. And so you've moved throughout our district. Obviously now your role is going to be opened up. And so I think we're looking for a vice principal as well at Fernando. Oh my gosh, so 2 positions opening up. But congratulations nonetheless. You deserve this. And with that, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion was approved. Congratulations, Ms. Conti.
Congratulations.
We are going to be moving to item 10G, MTSS Multi-Tiered System of Support Specialist Job description.
Ms. Jordan,
Yes.
if Ms. Conti's here, if she
Oh,
would like to
yes.
speak,
Actually, Ms. Conti,
address
would
the
you like
board.
to make a comment? Sorry, I took all the comments for you. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you to the board. Thank you to the district administrators and everyone who was on the panel. The last few weeks have been bittersweet and sad to leave Fernando. I'm very excited to take on this new role and to serve the district in a new capacity. So thank you. I look forward to working with all of you. And I'm sure we'll see you all again soon.
Thank you again, Ms. Conti. Back to 10G. Do I have to repeat that again? No, just kidding. The administration recommends approval of the job description for MTSS, Multi-Tiered System of Support Specialist. The specialist will provide direct intervention and progress monitoring for students who need support in reading, math, behavior, and or social emotional learning, SEL. Are there any comments or questions on this item?
Yes, I have a comment. So I'm very happy to see this on our agenda. This is something that is very important and actually really near and dear to my heart. A lot of people hear the words MTSS, Multi-Tier System of Services, and to be quite honest, some teachers still don't even know what that means. So it's really important to have a person in this capacity that can help make sure, especially that our schools have, universal policies and procedures that was called Tier 1, so that we can prevent things from happening, hopefully. And then as we progress to the other tiers, to provide more and more intervention. So I'm looking forward to seeing who gets into this position and, what they can do with it and how we can support them.
And I just had a question if the position was by site or if it would be a person who would rotate among several schools.
The positions are going to be broken down by site. Some schools will be getting a full-time person. Some folks will have a 0.5 person depending on their enrollment. But that person, even if it's a 0.5 person, they'll be hopefully a full-time employee at that one school, doing that as well as working as the ELD instructor. We're looking, it depends on the different site and the enrollment. And we're looking at approximately 7 positions for the unit, Mr. Hagan.
And is this in the budget?
Yeah, it's in the budget.
That's what we've been talking about the whole conversation.
For the 2020.
Yeah, this is in the budget. Currently, we're in budget development process, and we're waiting for the May revision to come from the state of California.
There we go.
With that, I'm working closely with Ms. Scott in updating the LCAP for these additional positions and how they fit into the greater narrative of what we're doing here at Jefferson Elementary School District.
Perfect. I also echo Trustee Ali's sentiments. I'm really happy to see this on the agenda. I would really like us to be a little bit more proactive and less reactive. A lot of times we receive the information about how our students are doing well after the fact, similar to how we're receiving the results of the spring and the fall. We need to do as much as we can to hopefully get them to the next level without them falling behind. So I really am excited to move this forward. With that, is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
So first and a second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion was approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to item 12A, Board Policies, Administrative Regulations, December 22 CSBA Board Policy Updates, first reading. The board will review and revise Board Policies, Administrative Regulations for December 2022 CSBA Board Policy Updates as stated. Are there any comments on this? Seeing as there is not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I just realized, so item 13A, we will need to table since Miss Leah Iga Anuai is not present today. So we will be moving on to item 14A. Public hearing for AFT Local 3267 on the contract proposal Sunshine. The public hearing acknowledges the receipt of direct sunshining and receiving public input on AFT's proposal for the 2023-24 by AFT Local 3267 as required by the ROTA Act. A public hearing will be held to receive public input on AFT Local 3267 contract proposal for the 23-24 school year. AFT is proposing to open negotiations on Article 2, wages, Article 3, hours of employment, Article 6, health and welfare, and Article 10, class size. Are there any public comments? Seeing as there's not.
I forgot to note this, but open the hearing.
Yes.
Close the hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
I am opening this hearing 9:04 p.m. Seeing that there is no comments. Is it 9:05?
It could still be at 9:04.
Okay, I will close the public hearing. I was trying to wait till 9:05, but I will close the hearing at 9:04 p.m. Moving on to item 14B. This is a public hearing for JESD 2023-24 counterproposal Sunshine to AFT Local 3267. The public hearing acknowledged the receipt of the direct sunshining and receiving public input on JESD's counterproposal to AFT Local 3267 as required by the ROTA Act. This hearing is held to receive public input on JESD's counterproposal to AFT Local 3267 for the 2023-24 school year. JESD is proposing to open the negotiations on Article 2, wages, Article 3, hours of employment, Article 6, health and welfare, Article 10, class size, Article 11, evaluation and revising language throughout the document to reflect current law. I'm going to be opening up public hearing at 9:05. Are there any public comments? Seeing as there's not, we will close public comment at 9:05 p.m. as well. Moving to item 15, persons wishing to address the board on unagendized items or closed session items. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda or an item addressed in closed session. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. Do we have any public comments? Seeing as there's not, we will close public comment and move on to item 16, governance team members' comments, reports, and board member reflection. And for this, I'm going to start on my right-hand side.
In the interest of time, I will not say much. I think it was a good meeting. Enjoyed all the presentations, particularly the students from Westlake in the beginning and their words of wisdom. Thank you.
Yes, I think that we did a good job of working cooperatively toward an equitable future for our district.
Well, I think we also did a great job tonight. I also wanted to amend my very first statement about the sites that we visited. We actually visited SPA, not MHT like I previously said, so I wanted to thank the site of SPA.
I also wanted to actually comment on our site visits. The visit at SBA was very memorable. I remember we had students wanting to see us. We were walking around, and one particular classroom had us come in. They said all of our names, and then a few of the students decided to do basketball air quotes when my name was called, but unfortunately I'm not related to Michael Jordan. So, but I do want to appreciate the teachers and the students at both TRP and SBA. It was really amazing to see all of the amazing things that those students are doing, and what the teachers are instructing them and advising them towards. So with that, we had a great meeting tonight, and I would like to close our meeting out in the memory of, convene to close. I'm going to convene to close session, but I'm going to convene and close out in the memory of first. So we are closing out in the memory of Cheryl Alioto, food service assistant at Ben Franklin Intermediate, and Gus C. Constantinos, retired Daly City firefighter. Can we please have a moment of silence? With that, we'll convene to close session at 9:08 p.m.